Welcome into the Locked On Knicks podcast. The New York Knicks lose 116 to 105 to the Washington Wizards. I'm going to tell you why tonight's loss was once again more so the result of previous games. That next on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I want to thank you for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day. We're now available on all platforms, and that includes, you guessed it, you know it, on YouTube. So if you haven't already, please go subscribe on YouTube so you never miss one. But who's talking to you? I'm Gavin Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. Typically, I would be joined by the great Alex Wolf, editor-in-chief of The Strickland, the greatest Knicks website in the whole wide world. But he has tonight off. So I have the pleasure, the honor of talking you through the Knicks' worst loss in quite a while. I mean, you could argue it even goes back to that I think was December. Well, obviously the last second loss to Dallas was more brutal, but I'm thinking of the Dallas game all the way back at MSG where the Knicks blew the big lead and then got blown out. This was the first time in a while they felt completely non-competitive in a game. And sure, they sort of made a run at it at times, got within 7 points in the fourth quarter. But from the get-go in this one, the Knicks were really struggling. They were down 14-3, then 17-5, then 19-5. And the Wizards were just burying them early with some hot three-point shooting. Washington started off 6 for 10 from distance, finished 16 of 42. That's 38% from three. The Knicks, conversely, were just 7 of 26 from three-point range. The Wizards also had fantastic ball movement, finishing with 28 assists. The Knicks did not. They finished with 14 assists on 40 buckets. So to give you a little comparison, the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight finished with 40 assists on 47 buckets. The Knicks, once again, 14 on 40. So the ball movement was a big issue, and it has been for a while for the Knicks, but we'll get into that in just a sec, because tonight, just in a big picture sense, felt like a let go of the rope night for the New York Knicks. This team has been scrapping and fighting and clawing, and it felt like a situation where the individual brilliance of Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle made it so the Knicks would never really be out of a game, right? There was always going to be a quarter where one of those two got extremely hot, and then the other one came in support of the cause, and then Quentin Grimes hit some timely threes, and Emmanuel Quickley made some timely plays. RJ Barrett went on a big burst, and inevitably the Knicks would either win or they'd lose a really close, painful game. But the Knicks got some of those elements tonight, and yet you were never really convinced they were going to win the game because it didn't feel like they had the energy to. I think that's the simplest way I could put it, coming off of that overtime defeat against the Toronto Raptors. This is a team that has given up their mind, body, and soul. And I think those reserves are a little bit depleted. And for no player was that more true than Julius Randle, coming off a 7 for 20 shooting game last time out against the Raptors. He was similarly, if not more inefficient in this one, just 6 for 17 from the field, 0 for 5 from three-point range, just 2 for 5 from the line. They did keep his 15 rebound streak going, so that's good. 6 straight game with that. Did have 4 assists, but not a banner night for Julius Randle. Look, Tibbs made, at least by his standards, an effort to keep Randle's minutes down. Part of that was foul trouble, but Randle only played 34 minutes. Even Jalen Brunson, who was fantastic in this one, only played, in quotes, 38 minutes in this one. But you could tell from the opening seconds of this game, Randle was not at full strength. He has been so good after the first 10 or so games of this year, because he completely transformed his shot diet. Everything has been at the rim or behind the three-point line. In the month of, I think it was for the whole month of December, he led the NBA in three-point attempts. And then in this first, let's see, how many games are we into the season now? In the first 45 games of the season for the Knicks, Randle has, so I was coming into tonight, Randle has 24 dunks. All of last season, or excuse me, all of his 2021 season where he made second team All-NBA, he had 25 dunks. So he's been more explosive this year. That means more explosive, beating guys off the dribble, and more explosive in terms of his finishing, how quickly he elevates, how powerfully he elevates. And tonight, pretty much everything was below the rim. I think he got one dunk in this one, but the vast majority of stuff, even when he was getting offensive rebounds, it was like pump, 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 wait for KP to clear out, and then go back out and put it in. And that wasn't even most of his scoring. A lot of his shooting tonight came from mid-range, a lot of fadeaways, and it looked like a vastly different player than the guy that was crossing Scotty Barnes all the way back to Canada and then just jamming around guys like Pascal Siakam and Precious Achiuwa or dunking on Daniel Gafford even as recently as last Friday. Randle just did not quite have the same amount of juice in this ballgame. That is the simplest way to put it. And here's where it gets really frustrating. The Knicks do not have the depth right now to survive on a night where one of Randle or Brunson just doesn't have it. I mean, even you could look at that Raptors game and Brunson wasn't terrible. I mean, he had a 24-point game, but he wasn't his usual efficient self. And it felt similar to the first game against Toronto, where they really flummoxed him by throwing a lot of size his way, making him see multiple bodies every time he drove the ball. The difference in that game was Brunson distributed it a lot more. And then this last game against the Raptors, he didn't really do that. And to me, that is mental fatigue and kind of getting to a point where your game becomes sort of one note. And honestly, we got a little bit of that again from Jalen Brunson tonight. Look, he was super efficient. That wasn't an issue. He was 11 to 24 from the floor. He was 2 for 3 for 3, 8 for 8 from the line. And I'll get more into it in the final segments of this podcast. But he did some incredible stuff off the dribble, but only had 4 assists in this game. Wasn't really creating all that much. And when Julius and Brunson are not creating open looks for everyone else or just dominating with incredible efficiency and isolations, the Knicks offense just falls off a cliff because there's no one else to support the cause right now. Obi Toppin, I mean, he's coming off a pretty good game against Toronto, but he by and large looks like a shell of his former self. Has yet to score in double digits. I think now it's his last 18 games. The last time he scored in double digits was November 13th. So 2 months and 6 days ago against the Oklahoma City Thunder and that 145 to 135 loss, which to me feels like a different season than from now. So Obi is very, very far from the guy who looked like he was ready to ascend at the start of this year. Deuce McBride didn't score in this ball game. We can play the same game with Deuce McBride that we just played with Obi Toppin. He hasn't scored now in his last 5 games. The game before that, he had 3 points against the Bucks. He's an offensive zero right now. Is Deuce McBride outside of one really nice lob to Jericho Sims? That was a great play. He's not an offensive option for the New York Knicks. Isaiah Hartenstein, the flip shot master from earlier this season. I was comparing his floater game to Emmanuel Quickley. He shot 2 for 6, had another sequence where he missed like 3 layups in a row again. Or sorry, he didn't have a sequence this game where he missed 3 layups in a row, but did miss back-to-back floaters in this game. Did have a nice transition putback dunk. That was a highlight for him, but by and large, again, no offense from him. Jericho Sims played 21 minutes, and again, we will get into it, did some absolutely fantastic work on the offensive glass. Did some really good stuff. He was just 1 for 2. Their only source of bench offense right now is Emmanuel Quickley, who had 18 points in this one. And I don't know about you guys, that leads me to the conclusion that maybe the Knicks would benefit from a little Cam Reddish in their lives once again, or trading him for someone who Tom Thibodeau is actually willing to play. But before we get into all that, I got to tell you guys about one of our favorites here at Locked On Knicks. It is, of course, Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories, but that stuff's gross, then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier, but don't want to compromise taste, man, I've got just the thing for you. You've got to try Built with Built. Healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious. You won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolutions. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but these bars, they kind of taste like a candy bar while maintaining incredible macros. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't even have to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. It's an absolute game changer. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-pack of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our flavors, brownie batter and churro. You guys can thank me later. It's incredibly good and incredibly good for you. All right, we're back on Locked On Knicks. The New York Knicks fall 113-105 to the Washington Wizards. And man, I've been thinking this for about the last 12 games or so, ever since that Dallas debacle, where it felt like the Knicks just ran out of juice and suffered quite literally a 1 in 14,000 loss. I think this team could use Cam Reddish off the bench, a lengthy defender who is a pretty good shot, can create his own offense. I just think I said it at the time. I was willing to go back on it during the 8-game winning streak just because everything was working for this Knicks, but for this Knicks team, but the rotation they've been playing, the tight rotation they've been playing is just not sustainable. And we're seeing it now. Sure, the team is 25-21. Sure, as we keep saying, the net rating, the underlying metrics have been fantastic, but you got to look for a reason that they keep losing these close games over and over again. And that's because this team has this incredible fight. And you have to commend Tom Thibodeau for drawing that fight out of this team, because as Knicks fans, I mean, we've seen it over and over again over the years where we didn't have coaches that could get the best out of their players and didn't have coaches that could motivate the team to play with great focus and great intensity every minute of every regular season game. That is part of Tom Thibodeau's brilliance. But the flip side of that is, and Fred Katz, he did a really good job of highlighting it in the article he put out earlier this week on Tibbs' rotations. The flip side of that is part of the reason Tibbs' teams outperform expectations in the regular season is because he, for better or worse, I think worse, is willing to put more minutes on his stars than any other team in the NBA, any other coach in the NBA does. Since December 21st, coming into tonight, this is from the Cats article, Julius Randle's first in the league in minutes. Jalen Brunson is third in the league in minutes. And it's become a necessity because the Knicks bench or not the Knicks bench, I mean, the Knicks overall suck when those two are out of the game. They average 102.9 points per 100 possessions when Brunson and Randle are both off the floor. Currently, the league's worst offensive rating is Charlotte at 109 points per 100 possessions. So they're 7 points worse per 100 possessions than the worst team in the NBA. They have no offense without Brunson and Randle out there. And a big part of that is there's no ball movement at all. They are 30th in the NBA right now in assist rate. That is obviously last. This was a great stat from a friend of the pod, Strickland legend, Schwinny, who hosted Pod Strickland. Check them out. The New York Knicks and Dallas are the only teams bottom 10 in assist percentage that are also top 10 in offensive rating. And that's again, is a massive, massive credit to what Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle have done this year and why those two should be all-stars. But it's also indicative of the fact that there are very few other players on this team that can put defenses in rotation. RJ Barrett can do it. Emmanuel Quickley can do it. Quentin Grimes can do it when he gets those signature blow-bys off of closeouts. But there is not usually great sequences of ball movement following those. Like even when the Knicks get assists, they're usually direct assists. You rarely see like hockey assist sequence for the Knicks where one guy swings it to another who swings it to another. And it feels honestly like I write it down every single time the Knicks have a moment like that where for a team like Golden State, you're seeing something like that every 3 possessions or so offensively. And for the Knicks, it feels like this rare magical thing because they can bend a defense occasionally, but mostly when guys do it, it's for shoot first purposes. So let me circle back to the original point I was making here. They need more scoring off their bench, whether it's of the individual like creator variety, which is more so what Cam Reddish does, or someone who can drive and draw a couple of defenders and then kick it out and kick off a swing sequence into an open three. The Knicks have just no juice on their bench unit right now. And part of it is they were getting that earlier in this season from Derrick Rose, who, I mean, whatever you want to say for him offensively, and that he's lost a step, which is 100% true to some extent. He is still very good at getting a defense in rotation and kicking off sequences of ball movement. And the other big thing is Immanuel Quickley and Obi Toppin have not regained their chemistry since coming back. I mean, I'm kind of shocked at the lack of plays made between those two, where we're early this season, we were getting, I mean, one down court bomb from Quickley to Obi, seemingly a night. You're getting one play in the half court for them, whether it was a lob, whether it was like a dribble handoff sequence, whether it was Obi faking a dribble handoff and pivoting and diving to the rim for a dunk. You're not seeing that anymore. And because of that, the Knicks need a little extra juice, whether that's, look, if Cam is on the ban list, if someone, apologies, I forgot who did it. Someone tweeted at me tonight, like I think it was Relo1K, our friend on this pod, who said maybe Cam is refusing to play because Tibbs will only play him in small segments. If that's the case, I don't think that should be a thing in the NBA for guys who are getting paid millions of dollars a year to play hoops. Though I understand Cam wanting to protect his future value. But regardless, if Cam is truly unplayable, then throw Fournier out there for 15, 16 minutes a game. I know we got kind of mixed results when Tibbs was forced to do that, but they just need someone right now who can create some offense with the bench, because the Knicks are losing games in those minutes. It is ugly when Randle and Brunson are off the court. And even more importantly, just from Randle and Brunson's perspective, like what they've been asked to do over this win streak is great, but it's not sustainable. And that has always been the issue with Tom Thibodeau. It is never sustainable. His teams always burn out, whether it's injuries like with Luol Deng, with Joakim Noah, with Derrick Rose, or just the fact that they play over their heads in the regular season. That's great and that's fun, but it doesn't matter if you're going to lose in the first round anyways, right? Like, sure, it's great to be in the playoffs. We all want to be in the playoffs. We all want the Knicks to be good. I want a higher ceiling than what is currently there. And I think some of us, myself included, are maybe getting tricked a little bit into thinking that this team is better than they are. And when we get into the playoffs and the Celtics are saying, all right, well, you're playing Julius Randle against us 42 minutes in the regular season, sneaking out a win. Well, now we're playing Jason Tatum 42 minutes. So good luck with that. The Cavs with Donovan Mitchell, the Sixers with Joel Embiid. You can go on and on and on, but these teams have better stars. And when they're playing as much as Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson are, they're going to beat them, most likely. On that pessimistic note, we will get back in just a sec. I think when we come back, I want to talk about Jalen Brunson's big night, RJ Barrett's big night, Emmanuel Quickley's big night, and Quentin Grimes is a very solid performance. But first, I got to tell you about our friends at BetOnline, because they are always so good to us here at Locked On Knicks. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and the World Cup. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. What I like to go there for more than anything else is the latest night-to-night NBA odds. The Philadelphia 76ers just 2.5-point favorites against the Portland Trailblazers. I think the Sixers are going to kill them. The Trailblazers have no answer for Joel Embiid. So unless I missed something and he is out, I don't really understand that line. Go throw some money down on Philly. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. All right, boys and girls. Hopefully we have some girls listening. If you're a woman listening to the podcast, please throw us a comment, because I don't know. We never really hear from women in the comments section. It's a little too much testosterone going on there. It's honestly it's a miserable experience in the comments. A lot, and that's not to you guys that are posting positive stuff. There's a lot of negativity, especially when the Knicks are losing. So I want some more positivity in there. The New York Knicks 116-105 losers against the Washington Wizards. And that doesn't mean there weren't some really good performances tonight. That was almost what was most befuddling about this game. Like the box score, and like, wow, RJ had a good game. Jalen had a good game. Grimes had a pretty good game. Quickley was fantastic, and yet the Knicks got killed by the Wizards, and it was because essentially no one else did anything in this one. So the Knicks had 6 players score, the same 6 guys who have been scoring every game, and then everyone else on the team combined for 6 points. It was that kind of night. It was 5 guys for the Knicks. It was Mitchell Robinson at 0. So it was Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley. 5 guys scored 99 of the Knicks 105 points. And maybe I should have led with that, because that kind of sums up the balance issues more than anything else. But let's get into some of the good. Jalen Brunson had some fantastic moments in this one. One early play that stood out to me, completely befuddled Monty Morris rejecting an empty side screen. So an empty side screen is when you have 2 players on one side of the court, 3 players on the other side of the court. So it's just the 2 defenders trying to guard a pick and roll, and Brunson turned down the screen and just went middle, and it kind of left Morris just turning his head around, completely torched Taj Gibson on a crossover into an inside spin the other way. And then kind of one of his signature, like, I don't know what you would call this move. It's kind of a mini Euro step, but it's not exaggerated, but he kind of just gathers on his left side, then switches back to his right and lays it in. That was for an and one on Taj Gibson. Hit Grimes with a great backdoor. Torched Denny Avdia on a couple of different possessions, and a mismatch, banked in a 28-footer to beat the shot clock buzzer. The guy is just, he you know what he's so good at? He is brilliant when a defense is switching. He instantaneously attacks the gap that is created in the moment that the 2 defenders are trying to complete the switch. And he gets into space a little sooner than you think he will. And then his timing and his quirky pace just throws you a little bit off the mark. Like, he shoots a little bit sooner than you think. He starts and stops a little differently than you expect. Just an incredibly skilled basketball player. His 8th straight game with 25 plus points, as the 3rd longest streak in Knicks history for guard, past Clyde Frazier tonight, who jokingly threw on the broadcast, "I hate this guy," when he saw that stat, which I thought was very, very funny. RJ Barrett, I thought he did such a good job in this game, taking advantage of mismatches and not settling for the most part. Had back-to-back layups in the second quarter against Corey Kispert, one time going left, one time going right, and then was just bullying Monty Morris, especially in transition. Like, I love the patience. Like, he didn't try to rush anything. He said, "All right, I'm 5 inches taller than this dude, 4 inches taller than this dude. I'm just going to go right to the rim, and I'm going to shoot over him." He did that once for a layup, went at him again for an and one, where he was super duper patient. It was kind of in garbage time. It had the sick move late on Denny Avdia. It might have been a travel, but he pivoted one way, and then it wasn't really a pivot. He almost pirouetted, like kind of spun on one foot, and got an and one layup on Avdia. So that was all great. The concern with RJ right now is his 3-point shooting, because if you remember, he was fantastic from distance in December. Shot 42% from 3 over the month of December. Since coming back from injury over I think it's 6 games now, he is 8 for 32 from 3. That is 25%. And I think this Knicks team, this Knicks front office, I can say myself, as someone who covers the team and is also a fan of the team, I would take RJ just shooting a consistent 35% from 3. I don't need him to be at 37, 38. I definitely don't need him to be at 41 like he was 2 seasons ago. My God, that would be incredible. I think he would be an all-star, or at least an all-star consideration if he shoots it that well from distance. But it's so streaky right now. It's like a worse version of Emmanuel Quickley, and he just has nights like tonight where you watch him shoot and you're like, he's not going to make one. Like, it's just not going in for him tonight. Someone who is shooting pretty well is Emmanuel Quickley, who is combining his current skill, his current strength, his newfound strength, with some of the tricks that he had as a rookie. We mentioned his floater coming back the last few weeks. Is figuring out how to foul bait against, similar to how he did as a rookie. And if you remember, there was that rule change from his rookie year to his sophomore year where refs were a little less inclined to call guys baiting pump fakes and then jumping into the defender. And that was kind of Quickley's bread and butter. But now he's figured out how to use his physicality. Like, he had a play in transition where he just ran right into Rui Hachimura and threw up a shot. And more often than that in the NBA, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt on that kind of call. I don't know if it was a foul. Like, maybe Rui was moving his feet a little bit. But Quickley was the one who initiated the contact. But that is smart basketball if they're going to call that. Had a great hustle play, diving for a loose ball to bat it up the court. It led to some Jalen Brunson free throws, and then just had a great start to the fourth quarter. Baited a swipe from, I can't remember who's guarding, but I think it was a big switching onto, maybe it was Avdia, for a floater and an and one, then created a baseline fader out of nothing, then had this great screen negotiation on the right wing for a three. That was all in the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. Scored 8 points when the Knicks desperately needed it. I was kind of frustrated that he didn't really get more touches, didn't get more opportunities after Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle came back in the final 8 minutes, but still an efficient 18-point night on 13 shots for him. So nothing to complain about with Immanuel Quickley. Who else we got? Quentin Grimes. This game didn't blow me away. The last few weeks of Quentin Grimes really haven't blown me away. I keep waiting for him to make the next step. I want to see him string together like a couple of 16 to 22 point games in a row where we see those flashes of explosion for him. But honestly, I think he's another guy that's worn down. I mean, you saw him against the Raptors, like consistently flying around for rebounds. He did not have that same juice tonight. Had one really nice drive early in the game, and that was pretty much it for him from an attacking the rim perspective in this game. Ended up being a 3-point heavy night, which was fine because he shot really well. 3 for 7. Look, 14 points on 10 shots. You're never going to complain about that, but I just think there was more for him. He was just being asked to do a lot, and how intensely he plays on defense, I think is starting to catch up to him in terms of wear and tear now that he's playing major minutes. Final guy I want to highlight, only other guy who didn't really upset me in this one was Jericho Sims, who came in because Mitchell Robinson sprained his thumb. I maybe should have talked about that earlier. Like that could be significant for the Knicks because we all remember how they fell off a cliff when Mitch was injured earlier this season. Mitch is first on the team in net rating, I guess more so in plus minus. I think also net rating. He's first in net rating for the team and is top 10 in the NBA amongst qualifiers who played over 25 games and played over 20 minutes a game. So that is major if Mitchell Robinson is out for any significant amount of time. But Jericho Sims playing how he did tonight makes a big difference. He created 6 points basically out of thin air in the first half just by getting tip outs. And offensive rebounds. I mean, had one where KP was grabbing his arm, still fought for, got the board, and then just shuffled it over to Quentin Grimes, who's cutting to the rim for a dunk. Had a tap out for another possession that led to a Brunson pull-up, and then tapped out Randle's missed free throw at the very end of the half that led to a Julius dunk. The one negative note with Sims that we noted, I think last time he played a bunch of minutes was the last time I did a solo pod I talked about. This is something that our friend Prez, also the Strickland, also Pod Strickland, mentions quite a bit. But Jericho is only a good rim protector if he is tied to load up. If you go right at him in a one-on-one situation, there's not that much he could do. Like, look, he was guarding Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma is a small forward. Jericho Sims is a center. Those two guys are the same height. They're both 6'10". And Kuzma just went right into his body, and Sims didn't really have a chance to block it. So that is a problem about playing in consistent minutes. Like, that is going to get exposed, and you'd hope that Tibbs would mix it up, and in an effort to create some juice would play some small ball. And he did try that down the stretch, tried just putting the Knicks 5 best players out there with a Quickley, Brunson, Grimes, RJ Randle lineup that had some mixed results. And I think the Knicks are going to need to experiment like that, going to have to do more things like that to create easy offense. But anyways, that is it for tonight's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with a fun mailbag episode talking about Knicks trade targets. In case you missed it, I had Michael Scotto on the pod yesterday to talk Knicks trade rumors. Really good intel on Emmanuel Quickley, the reason why Cam Reddish hasn't been traded yet, and whether Obi Toppin could potentially be on the block. So if you missed that, check that out. Really special episode with one of the better NBA reporters out there right now. But yeah, until next time, this was Locked On Knicks. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.